We know how to be mothers, but do we remember how to be lovers? For so long, we've been praised for how much we give as mothers. But what if midlife is a moment we start asking, how do I want to receive? What turns me on? And who am I now as a woman, a mother, and a sensual being? Welcome to Pleasure in the Pause, a podcast dedicated to empowering midlife women to connect to their bodies, pleasure, and power in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. I am your host, Gabriella Espinosa, women's health and sexual wellness coach, and it is my pleasure to be here with you today. I want to ask you something. Have there been parts of yourself, beautiful, vital parts, that you've quietly orphaned because you thought they'd hold you back? I have. When I became a mother, something shifted in me. I had followed the traditional path of womanhood, being all the things that society and family expected of me: the devoted wife, the perfect mother, the gracious people pleaser who smiled and said yes when I really meant no. And somewhere along the way, I started turning down the volume on my sexual self. It was almost like the moment I became a mom, I flipped a switch. And that fiery, can't keep my hands off of you honeymoon energy with my husband, it just dimmed. She started to feel too much, too wild, too selfish. Like she didn't fit in with cookie baking, school runs, soccer games, and laundry piles. So I pushed her away, not in one dramatic moment, but slowly over time, with all the usual excuses. Not tonight, honey, I'm exhausted. Or I've got an early morning tomorrow with the kids, maybe on the weekend. And then the weekend would arrive and it would be, shh, the kids might hear us. And I would just quickly try to get it over with. And eventually, just like that, she was gone. And for a long time, I didn't even notice until perimenopause showed up totally unannounced. And then it really felt like the light to my libido switched off, like my desire had gone completely offline. Suddenly, I wasn't just avoiding intimacy. I felt almost repelled by it, like my body had a big do not disturb side hanging on it. And then there was the body stuff, the weight gain, the softness around my belly, the changing skin. I did feel sexy. I felt invisible, even to myself. I'd wear the least flattering thing I could find to bed, half hoping my husband wouldn't find me attractive. Spoiler, he still did. He didn't care about the cellulite, but I did. I was the one who couldn't see past it. And I would just stand there looking in the mirror at this body that had birthed 3 beautiful children, that had given me so much. And I would ask myself, who am I now as a sexual being? Was she really gone? You know, in Eastern traditions, sexual energy, what we call pleasure, is not just about sex. It's your life force. It's creativity. It's passion. It's the current that moves through everything around us. So when we abandon our pleasure, we're not just losing touch with our sexuality, we're losing access to that aliveness, to our essence. And I think for many of us, that starts to happen in motherhood. When we step into our role as mothers, something quiet but profound can happen. We split. We nurture and protect and love fiercely. And that is so fulfilling and necessary. Yet somewhere along the way, we cut off the part of us that created life in the first place. The sensual, sexual, vibrant part, because she doesn't fit into the mother mold. Our bodies become vessels for feeding, holding, caring, giving, and sex becomes another thing on our to-do list. Something we give but rarely receive. We stop asking, what do I want? What feels good to me? And then we reach midlife. The kids are growing or maybe gone. Our bodies are changing. Our relationships might be shifting or ending. And suddenly the question bubbles up again. Who am I now? What kind of intimacy do I want to experience? What does it mean to feel turned on, not just in the bedroom, but in life? Here's the beautiful truth. Midlife is not the end of your sensuality. It's a new entry point, a reawakening, an invitation to choose yourself, maybe for the first time. Think about it. We can say goodbye to periods and contraception. We can redefine sex, intimacy, and pleasure on our terms. We get to open the definition beyond penetration or performance. And we get to ask, what kind of pleasure do I want to receive? Because if you've spent years giving, you're allowed. No, you're invited to receive. And that truly is what this season of life is inviting us into. A new story, a different rhythm. I know that for me, the moment I began saying no to certain things and yes to honoring my desires, yes to exploring what pleasure could look like now, it changed everything. When I started reclaiming that part of me, when I let go of the old roles and started showing up more as me, more sensual, more playful, confident, and honest, my kids noticed. My partner noticed. I noticed. There were moments where my kids were a little confused. Who are you? They would ask. I was still their mom, but not the one they once knew. And my husband, well, he loved the idea that I was taking charge, expressing what I wanted, what I liked, both in and out of the bedroom. And there were moments where I felt like I was reintroducing myself to the people around me and to myself. I got to know myself again. And that's really what we're doing inside the Midlife Pleasure Collective, my sacred monthly membership space for women in midlife who are ready to reclaim their sensuality, ignite sexual confidence, and come home to their bodies. We're not becoming someone else. We're remembering who we are beneath the labels. We gather each month to explore sensual practices, receive expert guidance, and live group coaching, and be part of a loving community to support you in feeling more connected to yourself and more alive in your skin again. Not someday, but now. And for Mother's Day, I'm doing something really special. When you join the Midlife Pleasure Collective this week, you'll receive a free membership to gift to someone you love. Your mother, your sister, your best friend, someone you want to walk beside you on this journey. Because these conversations are meant to be shared. And this healing is deeper when we do it in community with other women. You can head to the link in the show notes or visit pleasureinthepause.com/collective to join. Let's make this Mother's Day about connection, joy, and rewriting the story of womanhood together. We've been taught so many false stories about women's pleasure, that it's shameful, that it takes a back seat, that it disappears with age. But none of that is true. Your pleasure belongs to you, and it's not too late to redefine what it looks like. It's not too late to decide what turns you on, what lights you up, and how you want to feel in your body. It's not too late to explore what it means to receive, to feel nourished, enlivened, and deeply connected to your sensuality. This is your invitation to begin. So maybe this week, as Mother's Day comes around, you make space for a new kind of honoring, not just as a mother, but as a woman, a lover, someone who owns her pleasure, power, and purpose. You don't have to choose between them. You can be both. You already are both. This is your permission slip to remember. Thank you for being with me here today. I hope to see you in the Midlife Pleasure Collective. And if this episode stirred something in you, if it made you feel seen, inspired, or just a little more connected to yourself, I would be so grateful if you'd help me share a little more pleasure in the world. Please take a moment to rate, review, or share this episode with a friend or someone you love. Because when one woman reconnects with her pleasure and power, it creates a ripple for all of us. Your share may be the very thing another woman needs to hear to step into her next chapter with more softness, more purpose, and more joy. Thank you. And remember, your pleasure matters.